Let's queer up education. Former President Obama speaks out against LGBTQ+ book bans. In an open letter published on his social media accounts, former President Barack Obama praised the country's librarians for standing on the front lines as book bans spread around the nation. In the letter to the hardworking librarians of America, the former president took aim at the ongoing efforts by conservatives, especially the Florida-based Moms for Liberty, a group recently designed as a hate and extremist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, to ban book covering issues regarding gender, human sexuality, and race. The former president said in the letter that American authors and poets significantly impacted his life growing up. A report released by the American Library Association, ALA, covering its annual assessment of books being challenged or banned in the United States showed a dramatic increase. According to the ALA, nearly 1,600 books in more than 700 libraries and library systems across the nation involving race, gender, and LGBTQ+ community were targeted by conservative groups. Over this past year, libraries have found themselves at the center of a cultural war as conservative groups lead a historic effort to ban and challenge materials that address racism, gender, politics, and sexual identity. Well, we all know the importance of books. Yeah. And, you know, when people want to ban books, they basically want to erase whatever topic that book is covering. That's right. And, you know, I know that I don't think this is going to go as far as they'd like it to go, because thankfully we have the librarians that are standing up. Yeah. And, you know, saying, wait a minute, I know as a child, you know, it was great to be able to read about different types of people and, you know, at least have an understanding. To me, it's not like promoting. Listen, both my parents were cisgendered, heterosexual people. Right. And look how I turned out. I'm transgender. What I'm trying to say is you are who you are. So reading a book isn't going to make you, but that's what they're pushing. Sure. They're pushing. We have to protect our children because if they read this book, they might turn trans. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head there. They want to stop the influence of our visibility on children. The thing that's disturbing to me is that they also are targeting, I mean, obviously not the only disturbing thing, but they're also targeting other areas that, like racism. Like, what? Yeah. Why would you need to shield children from racism? That doesn't compute.
Lexi, I don't know if you know this, but there was a civil war. We have slavery. There's a whole core of people in Tallahassee that want to try to tell you slavery
never happened. Not exist.
Right.
I understand. I just I can't make the two things line up in my brain. Yeah. But
it's because they don't.
They don't at all. Don't. Yeah. And I don't understand. I'm a mother. I raised 2 children. I don't understand how women can get together and think that it's a good idea to restrict children's access to educational materials. Yeah. I don't get it. Like, if you need someone else to regulate your children's life, then probably you shouldn't be a parent. Yeah. Right? If you need the government to tell you what your child should and should not engage in or read, that's a bigger problem than we have laws to solve. And Lexi, right? I gotta say this, you know, the irony. What do the Republicans always say? Less government. Yeah, right? And they're doing the opposite by trying to tell people what books they can read. I know. And I've said it 100 times. Like, it's simple, guys. Like, my rights end where yours begin. So if I'm a parent and I want my child to read a book that was banned, then I should be able to have that freedom to do so. Just like if I want my children to go to a pride festival or a drag brunch where there are drag performers, I should be allowed to do that as a parent. I don't see a problem.
That's how you get into an R-rated movie. Yeah. If you bring your parent and they approve, then you can go see it.
Exactly right.
One last thought about Moms for Liberty. I completely agree with Southern Poverty Law. They're a terrorist group.
Yeah.
It is a small terrorist group. It is a terrorist group that was created by the governor of the state of Florida. He funded and created the Moms for Liberty, and then created it as a statewide campaign, and now is exporting it onto states around the country. It is a small number of people that basically have gone in secret. The reason why they've passed the laws the way they've passed to allow you to challenge a book anonymously is because they're a such significant minority, they can't sell it as a majority decision-making in community interest. So this is how they get it, is doing it anonymously and secretly, and only having one person challenge a book. And because the one person has challenged the book, then the book is on review and in the force of removal. Right. This is all a terrorist act. Moms for Liberty is a terrorist organization. Agreed. The other thing that I always, I won't take credit for the thought, but I read a recent article that said, we've seen this before. We saw this in a movie in recent years, and it was called The Help. And The Help had all of the black maids of all of the white women in Jackson, Mississippi. And they so desperately needed the black maids, but then treated and talked about them like dirt behind their backs. Yeah. That's what we're watching today. That's why we don't have the ability, we phrase a term woke and we accept it and say, oh, well, somehow woke is a bad word. And how we talk about LGBT representation, etc. It is a white, gentrified privilege that has taken control in the governor's mansion, right, and in radical GOP and in radical evangelicals, and they're forcing their indoctrination on all of us. That's why it doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's why it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Yep. That's why it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense.
And the end result is, if we're looking at the LGBTQ community, as you said, Raj, if you're gay, the book is not going to make it happen. This will not reduce the number of gay people. What it might do is make their lives a little bit more uncomfortable in coming out. Right. When at school they're picked on because there is no education, no awareness, no sympathy, no humanity. That's right. So that's where this becomes...
It is a fact that 2 male penguins adopt a chick, an egg, and then a chick, and raise the penguins at the National Zoo in Washington. It is a fact. Writing a children's book telling that story does not make the child reading it gay. No. Exactly. That book is challenged and banned in more than half of the district schools in Florida.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, and it won't make a difference.
No.
Yeah. I just want to say this real quick too. I remember growing up, being a queer kid, and how difficult it was to maneuver in school. The bullying was horrendous, and I think this is what's going to happen if you make it a topic that's taboo and you can't talk about it. So I mean, so on point with that. It triggered my memory. Yeah. It really did. To my years growing up, and how hard it was.
I looked for resources all over the place, and even as a later adult coming out later, I couldn't find. I would go to the local library and couldn't find books about gay experiences at all. So
just to ostracize us.
This is why we're all so shell-shocked. We moved beyond that.
Right.
Yes.
We moved beyond that, and then something happened in 2016, and it's gotten worse ever since. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.